One thing a guitar teacher told me a long time ago, and I really hated that suggestion at the time, but now I see it's so useful, is try to play the goddamn same thing all over the fretboard. Hey, here I am back with a new Patreon video. Welcome back. I'm really happy to make this video because I have a little bit more time to share what I want to share, and I'm always looking forward to share my knowledge. And the last lesson I have been talking about a 30 minutes practice plan with like 3 categories like listening and sort of music theory on the fretboard and improvisation, and each of those sections is about 10 minutes. If you haven't been watching this video, maybe go back and watch it, because I think it's a very good plan that you can build up upon, and that's what we're going to do today. I sort of want to take the same categories but talk about how you could maybe go a step further. So first of all, I want to talk about listening again, and just want to talk a little bit about my own history of listening to music. So when I was like 16, I started listening to improvisation, I guess, and I wanted to learn to improvise because I heard a very good guitar player play sort of like a jazz, bebop, rhythm and blues kind of a thing, and I took lessons with him, and he introduced me to like Wes Montgomery and Kenny Burrell, the modern jazz quartet. He gave me like 5 CDs that I took home, but I couldn't listen to them because I didn't have a CD player. So I needed to wait until I met my cousin who had a CD player and a cassette player, and then we sat there for like hours until the CD was on the cassette, and we listened to the music the whole time. And my cousin said something like, it all sounds the same, and it did all sound the same to me too. And I was a little bit like, oh, it's not good music that I'm listening to, or I don't like it. But that was my start, and I just really listened to those recordings a lot because my teacher told me to do that. And a little while later, I had another teacher who introduced me to modern popular Brazilian music. It's like MPB. And he explained to me that a lot of Brazilian music, not only like Jobim, I think we all know him, but a lot of this music has really like complex harmonies, and that jazz and Brazilian music, and of course classical music a long time ago, it all influenced each other. So I started to listen to some Javan. I really love him. He's sort of the Michael Jackson of Brazil, a very famous musician. And when I have been studying guitar much later, I also have been listening to Rosa Passos. So there are lots of great Brazilian music. There's a lot of music that you can listen to that is maybe a little bit easier to get into it. And another thing that was easier for me to listen to was Robben Ford. And I made a post with a playlist on Spotify, so you can listen to all those songs and guitar players that I like so much. So John Scofield was one of them. I really listened a lot to John Scofield because he had that bluesy phrasing, and then he plays the hippest shit in between. But that was really something that I could relate to because of the groove in the band. Also listened to a lot of Robben Ford, and later on I started also listening to Wes Montgomery and Jim Hall. So on this playlist are some just of my really favorite songs that I have been listening to a lot. And I want to encourage you to listen to stuff that maybe you don't like at once, but give it a try and listen over and over to it, and maybe those songs can be part of your 10-minute listening routine. And another thing that you can do, if you choose one song with one solo and stick to that for a while, that you would start singing to that solo. And it doesn't have to be the accurate pitches. It doesn't really, it's not about singing. It's just about trying to sing in that rhythm. That's a great phrasing exercise. And you know, I have been listening to all that stuff, and now years later when I listen to it, it's so familiar to me, and it sort of comes out of my guitar playing too a little bit, I guess. But I really have listened to it, and I can sing along terribly to quite some solos, so maybe give that a try. Okay, so the second category is like, you know, we played those 2-5-1s on the fretboard, right? So like 2-5-1. So the D minor is the 2 chord, right? The G7, the 5, and the C major, the 1 chord. Please be sure that you check out those 2-5-1 progressions. They're really important and they will help you a lot. And so the next thing that I want to talk about how you can really like work with a solo transcription. So I made this solo transcription from Moon Song, which is like really was a lot of work, and I worked on it a very long time. And I just listened to it again, and then I just waited for that moment that really excites me. So that is a line that I really like, and I encourage you to do the same. That you just maybe even have a small notebook where you write down the minutes of the songs where you hear lines that makes you enthusiastic. You don't have to understand them yet. You don't even have to hear it and transcribe it yet, but just like, you know, it's an exercise in finding your own style, because your own style is what you like, but sometimes we don't know what we like. So try to find stuff that you like and just write down the recordings. You can get like a little book, you know, from Moleskine or Lichtblick. Write down the recording, the song, and the minute where you find that lick. And maybe a teacher can help you to understand that lick and analyze that lick. Or maybe if you can, try to play it and just fool around with it for a while. So the line that spoke to me the most yesterday is in bar 76 of that solo transcription. There's another post where you can download this PDF, and also there's a post where you can see how I play the solo transcription if you want to know a little bit about the fingering and everything. So bar 76 is a 2-5-1 in A flat major. So what I want to do is to really look at the parts of that lick, just like, you know, break it down in little sections, and then just work with those little sections. And we're going to try to apply those little sections to the chords that we have been practicing in the last video, right? We had that C major 7, A major 7, I believe. And I showed you one scale that you can use to improvise over it. And now I just want to show you a little bit how you can work with this stuff, right? So let's play that lick one more time. And this is what I want to do. I want to start with the end. I like to do that because our last note, that's a C, and this note is on the A flat. And that's the third. So I'm usually playing a lot of thirds on chords. I'm trying to get away from that because for me, in the meanwhile, it's a little too obvious. But if you're starting out, you can do yourself a favor if you're playing the thirds, because then you sort of hear the chord even better than you did before. So maybe this is this C, the C. And it's sort of a chromatic exercise, or a chromatic enclosure. You know, I did that short on, you know, all those independence fingering exercises, and I just realized you can use them as an enclosure as well. So if you want to think about finger exercise, it would be 2, 3, 4, 1. Let me play it for you. So that's a great technical exercise, but also in this line from METHENY, we can think about it as an enclosure, a chromatic approach, even it goes in another direction, you know, like descending. But it ends on the C. So let's play a C major. So I recorded the chords in a waltz, and I'm going to play the 3, the third of each chord to get started. Maybe even sing it along. And now I'm going to play this 2, 3, 4. Starting on the second finger. Trying some new rhythms. Now let's do the same thing with the 7. Just play the 7. Oh, I like it. So this is a very small snippet of this phrase from METHENY, but just like a little idea that we can use. And let's have a look at the phrase again. And this part I love again. This part is so cool. Those notes are on the E flat 7, and he's ending on the flat 7, the D flat, and the E is the flat 9. And this G is the 3. And there's chromatic approach to the G, double chromatic approach, flat 9, and flat 7, right? Just to play this one chord, the E flat 7 flat 9, so we can learn he's playing a flat 9 on a dominant 7th chord, even so it's a major 2-5-1, but the flat 9 is very, very nice note on a 5 chord because it makes it very clear the tension and the release, because the E, right, in A flat major just doesn't belong to the key. So maybe let's try to take this line through the cycle of fifths. So the next chord would be A flat. So I would just, like, you know, just, you know, follow the flow of the guitar neck. So, okay, let's start with the E flat again. Next chord, I think about the 3rd, I think about the flat 9, and the flat 7. Next chord, maybe let's try to stay in the position D flat 9, 3. Okay, the flat 9 is really high. Maybe let's play an octave lower. Maybe here. Flat 9. Stimmt das? Ja. And flat 7. So just use those very little like mechanics of the lick. This is a real bebop line, right? And try to understand them and use them on chords. And one thing a guitar teacher told me a long time ago, and I really hated that suggestion at the time, but now I see it's so useful, is try to play the goddamn same thing all over the fretboard. Maybe you record yourself E flat 7, flat 9. And then play it somewhere else. And just take this very small snippet and play it everywhere. Let's have another look at the line. So this is on the B flat minus 7, and we can really think he's playing B flat Dorian here, right? 5, 4, minor third, 9, and then approaching the root chromatically from above. So maybe just take those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes. Basically what we're going to do is play the Dorian scale starting from the 5, and we're going to play it down to the root and skip the chromatic note for a moment. And let's try to play it somewhere else. And now just before we reach the last note, we put in a chromatic note in between, like. Oh, this one is actually wrong, I'm sorry. And maybe because we have that extra note, it's nice to start on an offbeat. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Sorry. 2, 3, 4. So let's change those two chords, the C major and the A major, into a C minor 7 and A minor 7, and play each of those for 4 bars. Oh my goodness. And so we have like 3 parts for this lick, and I really think it's a super good idea just like to break it down into very small parts that you can use, because if you're playing the whole lick and then copy and pasting it on a 2-5-1, that's great as well. You can do that as well. But I think if you really want to use it in your improvisation, it's much more flexible if you're using like small parts of a lick. And so what we learned from this lick is that we can play a flat 9 on the dominant 7th chord, right? And I also realized that Misty is, I can't talk. I also realized that Misty is playing a lot of 6 intervals especially at the end of his phrases, which is very cool. So if we have like a A major scale, we can play it in 6, like just like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, starting from the first note, then starting from the second note, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry. Beautiful, right? So I'm going to play some 6 intervals like this just as an exercise, technical exercise, to get the 6 in my finger and in my subconsciousness over those 2 chords, the C major and the A major, and then I'm going to improvise. I'm going to try to end phrases with a 6, right? Or also, more generally speaking, you could just also think ending phrases with bigger intervals. I have to practice that too. So that's one way how you can practice improvisation. Give yourself a restriction that leads you out of the stuff that you're normally playing, and experiment. And yes, it's the small things, right? Always remember, it's really always the details. So let me know how you like this lesson. I'll see you next week. Bye.